Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about the 1966 Spark Ford GT40. In the early 60s, Ford wanted to expand their global appearance. A great way to do that is through racing. However, they didn't have a sports car to compete with any of the cars overseas, and the time it took to build one and get it for the racing season was just not in their scope. They were struggling to find a way to go about doing this, and one of their executives brought up the idea of Le Mans. And the race is a great platform to showcase your brand globally. This is exactly what Ford wanted to do. That executive's name was Lee Iacocca, and he suggested to Henry Ford II that they buy out Ferrari. Ferrari was already going bankrupt because they were putting all their money from their road-going cars into racing, and it would be a win-win for Ford. Buy out the competition and then use that asset to further your brand appearance. They pitched that idea to Enzo Ferrari, but during the negotiations, Enzo Ferrari did not like what was going on. He refused to sell the company, and that really made Henry Ford II angry. He basically wrote a blank check to create a brand new racing car from the ground up in 90 days to compete in the 1965 Le Mans race. One guy was pivotal in the Ford GT40's inception, development, and success. His name is Ken Miles, a British mechanic with a distinct personality who loves racing and really helped bring the Ford GT40 to life. He and Carroll Shelby built the Ford GT40 for the 1965 Le Mans race. However, Ford did not want Ken Miles to drive because of the aforementioned personality. They wanted drivers that could fit the Ford brand, and Ken Miles did not go. 1965, they lost to Ferrari. This really made Henry Ford even more angry, but it gave Carroll Shelby an opening to running the team his way. He basically went to Henry Ford and said, look, if you want to win, you got to do it my way or the highway. That was pretty ballsy, but it lucked out for him, and he was able to get more control for the next year's race. 1966, there were a whopping 8 Ford GT40s for the race, 3 of them run by Shelby American for the Ford Motor Company. It was a grueling race with Ford battling Ferrari for over 24 hours. Come Sunday, it's the Shelby American GT40 with Ken Miles driving that's leading the race. Ford executive Leo Beebe did not want Ken Miles to win the race. He had a grudge against him from the very beginning, and he wanted one of the other Shelby American cars to win. He pitched the idea to Henry Ford about a Ford photo finish. All 3 cars lining up, crossing the checkered flag for a great publicity photo, and Henry Ford was in on that. Now, the only way to do that is to radio to Ken Miles and tell him to slow down. He had such a huge lead over the other 2 cars. He really regretted it, but he did. Ford crossed the finish line 1, 2, 3. They finished the race. The unofficial results was Ken Miles winning the race for Ford. He was getting out of the car to celebrate, and everybody, all the photographers, all the interviewers, all the crowd ran to the number 2 car. The number 2 car, which was driven by Bruce McLaren and Chris Amon. And he couldn't figure out why everybody was over there. Why did they win and he did not, even though he crossed the finish line first? Well, apparently there was a bogus rule that said the car that travels the most distance actually wins. And since the number 2 car was further back in the starting grid, that he had this much of an advantage when he crossed the finish line. And that brings us to this car right here, the number 2 1966 Ford GT40. It's in a white box because it's a Le Mans winner. And I guess Spark is doing, for this generation or this iteration, they're doing the Le Mans winners in the white box. So you get this really gorgeous, clean white box. The car is on a white base plate. It looks so amazing. The contrast and everything looks so immaculate. So let's unbox it. This car is so clean. I love just the black with the silver stripes on the white base. It really pops, and I love the fluorescent tow hooks that really calls out. They look like teeth. It just looks so great. The black with the gold wheels. I love the blue around the tires. It is one sharp looking car. This is the very first American car to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And it really sets off the history of my list. This is the earliest car that I have in my collection. The Ford GT40 Mark II from 1966 with drivers Bruce McLaren and Chris Amon. It's such an iconic car and it will always be talked about. And plus, since the movie came out, Ford vs. Ferrari, this car and this story is so popular and a lot of fans know about it. If you really enjoyed that movie, there's a documentary called The 24-Hour War that really goes in depth about the whole saga and drama about this situation with Ford and Ferrari. If you like that movie, you're gonna love The 24-Hour War. So here it is, the first American car to win the race, and it's in my collection. If you like this video, give me a like and a follow. There's plenty of more Spark models to talk about, and I hope you join me for the rest of them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.